Hi, my name is Alyssa Nickel, and I'm presenting Article 52, a citizen's petition which seeks funding for a feasibility study. A group of residents has been working since the fall of 2019 to create and communicate a plan for a rehab trust to preserve existing naturally affordable housing in Acton. We presented our proposal to the Acton Community Housing Corporation, or ACHC, in September and to Housing for All in October. We also met with Acton Housing Authority, or AHA Director Kelly Cronin, who shared data on the AHA's program operation with us. We received support and valuable feedback that suggested the next most important step would be to implement the feasibility work proposed as Strategy 2 in the Town of Acton 2020 Housing Production Plan, and that brings us to town meeting today. This citizen's petition asks town meeting to fund a feasibility study to vet the creation of a housing trust. The state allows local legislative bodies to establish housing trusts, so if this analysis confirms that such a rehab trust is economically feasible, then the establishment of a trust would be brought to a future town meeting. While this article funds only the feasibility analysis and not the establishment of a trust, it's important to explain what is a housing trust. Housing trusts typically operate in one of two ways: as a funding entity or as an active initiator of projects, or sometimes both. The activities of the AHA and ACHC are similar to those of a housing trust, as they provide homeownership assistance, pre-development costs for affordable housing projects, and also the purchase, rehab, and rental of affordable units. Using the borrowing power of the town and/or funding from the state, the trust would purchase naturally affordable units like condos when they are put on the market. After rehabbing those units, meeting the requirements of the Department of Housing and Community Development for inclusion on the Subsidized Housing Inventory, or SHI, the trust would deed restrict them to remain affordable in perpetuity and either rent or sell them to income-qualified households. A housing trust focused solely on rehab would nicely complement the efforts of the AHA and ACHC. There would be some overlap and mutual support, as happens now with those two entities. Why rehab and why now? There was broad public support during the 2020 Housing Production Plan update process for rehabbing existing naturally affordable units and deed restricting them to be added to the SHI. The result was an emphasis on rehab in the #1 goal of the HPP approved by the Department of Housing and Community Development. Strategy 2 is conduct a study to consider establishing and funding a program to acquire condominiums and apartment buildings to create affordable rental units that are eligible for inclusion on the Subsidized Housing Inventory. This proposed feasibility study could satisfy Strategy 2 as established by the town. One of the Select Board's short-term goals established last August was the consideration of the creation of a rehab housing trust. This is in alignment with the 2020 timeline charted in the updated HPP. We need to act now to be in a position to purchase units as they become available and while they are still affordable. Prices have only increased since the Regional Housing Office's analysis showed an average of 40 units per year are sold in Acton for under $200,000. Likewise, when landlords sell condos or apartment buildings, the town should be positioned to protect Acton renters from eviction. New building projects that are heavily subsidized can take years to make it through the funding cycle and permitting process, and although subsidized, the cost per new unit is high. 40Bs require a higher density than local zoning allows in order to provide affordable homes. The majority of units are market rate, and this puts a burden on town resources. Rehab can be quicker and less expensive than building new. And finally, Acton's Climate Emergency Declaration and the Climate Action Plan and Development calls for the reuse of existing buildings to meet our climate goals. The greenest building is the one that is already built. Many of Acton's older condos, apartments, and small homes need better insulation, energy-efficient appliances, and updated or electrified heating and cooling systems. New construction generates significant greenhouse gas emissions and puts a strain on natural resources, especially so when buildings are demolished on parcels where new construction is planned. Even when those new buildings are more energy efficient, it takes decades to overcome the negative impacts of new construction. The requested funding provides for a professional assessment of the particulars of a trust that can purchase, rehab, and deed restrict units and then either rent or sell the units. Confirmation of the financial model created by the resident group is necessary and will allow us to determine which structure will make the most sense for the town to pursue. This petition has been recommended or endorsed unanimously in every case by the Select Board, Acton Community Housing Corporation, Acton Housing Authority, Housing for All, and the Finance Committee. We urge you to join them in support of this petition. Let's move forward on Acton's goals to provide more affordable and more sustainable housing options. Thank you.